we paint because we want to be creative first, and then the secondary consideration is we need to make a living to sustain it, right? So same with NFTs, I think. Getting into NFT art and the different art forms in that should be the primary reason. The secondary reason should be for the money, because when the money is dry, you're going to lose interest, right? If you're only focused on the money. So just like it's hard to make money in NFTs, just like it is in paint in physical artwork. So if you're gonna have to ride the waves, you know.
Welcome to the BoldBrush Show, where we believe that fortune favors the bold brush. My name is Laura Ringelbear, and I'm your host. For those of you who are new to the podcast, we are a podcast that covers art marketing techniques and all sorts of business tips specifically to help artists learn to better sell their work. We interview artists at all stages of their careers, as well as others who are in careers tied to the art world in order to hear their advice and insights. On today's episode, we interviewed David Cheifetz, a contemporary realist oil painter who paints dark and moody still lifes, figures, and portraits, and who is also an NFT creator and collector. We discussed if NFTs are a viable source of income for artists, the benefits of the community side of the NFT world, what David recommends if you're interested in NFTs, and the similarities between the real-life art world and the NFT art world. Finally, we talked about the importance of diversifying your income as an artist and David's upcoming still life workshops. So, welcome, David, to the BoldBrush Show. How are you today?
Thank you, Laura. I'm doing great. Yeah, I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, I'm happy to have you. Because somehow we both have very similar backgrounds. In the sense of the love for architecture. I believe
Yes.
it was your grandfather who was an architect, or?
Yeah. My grandfather was a landscape architect, and then I have um, an uncle who's an architect, an aunt who's an architect. So
Mm.
there's all that in the family. Yeah.
Yeah, I resonate with that because my mom is actually an interior architect, and then my great grandfather was an engineer, but he did like God, what's it? He did like bridges, and he did like really complex, like,
Okay.
yeah, like crazier stuff. But I also felt that like draw into architecture for some reason, which we both became artists after that, which is
Yes.
really awesome. But before we jump into that, do you mind telling us a little bit about who you are, what you do?
Sure. Yeah. I'm an oil painter. I guess I've been a professional artist since 2009. Um, yeah, before that, in architecture for several years before realizing I wanted to be an artist. Yeah, and so um, between painting and I also taught workshops for a while. Um, yeah, that is my career. So,
Yeah, yeah. And actually, I actually started following you on Instagram like forever ago.
oh,
Because
really?
because I love your still lives. Like they're like moody and tenebrous and expressive, and very punchy. And I remember at the time I was like, damn, I wish I could do that. And I still
Oh,
wish I
thank you.
could do
Well,
that. You're welcome. Yeah, no,
thank
I
you.
still wish I could do that because they're so cool. And I feel like they're like they definitely like if I see one of your still lives, I know it's yours. Like it's like one of those types of like things that you do that's like unmistakably David, which is awesome.
That's so, yeah. Well, that's really nice to hear, because from my perspective, I've always felt, I'm kind of all over the place with the
Mm,
painting, and it's hard to recognize like your own, I guess, style when you're
yes,
so close to it. So,
exactly.
so that's really nice to hear. I appreciate that.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah. And then aside from, like your amazing still lifes, you also have the gorgeous like cityscapes, and then you have these figures that you started doing in cityscapes actually, which I find very interesting. Um, but actually, I did want you to, if you don't mind, giving us a quick little recap of like how you went from, you know, architect to artist and now NFT artist, which is what we're going to mostly be talking about, which is kind of exciting.
Cool. Okay, yeah, sure. So, I'll give you kind of the short version. I always wanted to be an architect, pretty much since I was 9, and so I did end up going to study architecture at the University of Washington in Seattle. And after graduating, I worked in Seattle firms for a few years, um, and realized pretty quickly that I it wasn't going to be. I gave it a fair shot, but it wasn't going to be what I needed. I needed something more autonomous and creative, um, and immediate. Like I want to see the results right away, and I want more control over what I'm creating. Um, so even though I love architecture, I still love architecture, as we talked about before. But
Hmm.
so I started thinking about other things that would satisfy my creative needs, and um, what I settled on was comic books and graphic novels, and knowing that I needed more figure drawing. Like I had, perspective and proportion from all the architecture, but I needed figure drawing. So I went on somehow, I don't know how, I found the Art Renewal Center website, looked at their list of approved places, and found the Schuler School in Baltimore. And so while my wife was studying in grad school in Washington, D.C., I decided to go to Schuler School because I could just ride the train up um, during the weekdays and study there while still doing architecture to help make money and sustain us. So yeah, I went there for 3 years, and they're a great school, and because they have like these shows for students, and that allowed me to get a taste of selling paintings. And so um, yeah, I started selling paintings. I got into a couple of galleries, and quit architecture in 2009, just switched to full-time painting. And then yeah, we did several moves, but I kept painting, and then eventually started um, teaching workshops, which I realized helped me become a better artist. Having to verbalize what you're doing really like
Hmm.
made me think about what am I what am I doing? Like, what is my process? So yeah, um, been painting since then, and um, then in 2001,
Hmm.
wait, no, sorry, 2021, when NFTs started becoming big news. Like people had the sale. I think it was early, like in January, February of 2021. Um, I got curious about it because in 2017 I had started dabbling in cryptocurrencies when Bitcoin was going crazy, and yeah, I just thought it was I was excited about the technology, and I thought it was a really great opportunity to reach a different audience um, with a different product. Like there's paintings, there's prints, but this NFT thing I thought was really interesting. It could reach new people. I love the idea of royalties, that depending on the contract, the artist can get royalties in perpetuity, basically. So just that's what's missing from our physical art market
Hmm.
is those secondary market royalties. So Um, I mean, you kind of have to you kind of have to have been around a while to even be concerned about a secondary market. But still, I just love the idea of that. Um, so yeah, I dove into that, and um, it's been enjoyable to learn a new thing.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah, and also the fact that, I'm also, really interested in the whole royalties aspect because like the thing that really sets painting apart from the rest of, say, like music, for example, right? Musicians get royalties. Um And you get a strike on YouTube if you use one of their songs without permission. But with painters, it's different because your painting can go to auction and someone makes a ridiculous amount of money and you sold it maybe for like 0.01% of the original
Hmm.
of the price that it ends up selling for. So I also really am attracted to NFTs just because of that. I feel like that's much more respectful towards the original creator. Um, because I mean, I feel like art prices can just be so crazy. And hopefully that can also change in the future, the whole royalties aspect.
Hmm.
Um, and I remember when people did that sale and I was like, oh my God, that's so great for digital artists, right? Because at the time I just thought, oh yeah, NFTs, digital artists, they're going to
Yeah.
be benefiting from this. And then I heard that there were regular painters who were doing it and benefiting from it too. And I was like, what? Um, but I am curious because the NFTs, they've kind of, the I guess it was really, really like all over the news for a while. Now it's pretty much leveled out, I'd say, in
Hmm.
terms of like hype. Um, Even though it's leveled out, do you think it's still a viable source of income for artists?
Um, yeah, I think it is a viable source of income, but and it has leveled out, which I actually think is it's good. It's fine. Like it was crazy, and now it's just normal, and this is how it is going to be, and this
Mm,
is we just get used to this level, you know. Um, but I think while it is a viable source of income, I don't think anyone should consider doing NFTs just for the money. Like like we paint um, we paint because we want to be creative first, and then the secondary consideration is we need to make a living to sustain it, right? So same with NFTs, I think. Like if the idea of familiarizing yourself with the world of cryptocurrencies and the technology involved in NFTs sounds interesting to you, then you should do it for sure, because that should be the primary reason. Um, and getting into NFT art and the different art forms in that should be the primary reason. The secondary reason should be for the money, because when the money is dry, you're going to lose interest, right? If you're only focused on the money. So just like it's hard to make money in NFTs, just like it is in paint in physical artwork. So
mhm.
if you're gonna have to ride the waves, you know. So I mean I guess I'm not like super evangelical about NFTs because I've seen many people just come in and fall out of it. You know, I'm like it's not for everybody, you know.
Mhm.
Just like I wouldn't tell everyone to be an artist.
True.
It's yeah, you gotta really want to do it, and you gotta be kind of tough, you know. So have a
Yeah.
thick skin and just do it because you love to do it. So
Yeah. I mean, it makes perfect sense to have that perspective on it because it is, I mean, some people they just I guess they see all of the people who make so much money or whatever on NFTs and they're like, "Oh, I could totally just make a bunch of like side money." That's like I think that's underestimating the amount of work that goes into it. And the complexities because of course, like for example, I am aware that for example, we interviewed Francine Krieg, and she mentioned that instead of using Ethereum, they were actually using Tezos on the platform that she uses. Because obviously the gas fees, which most people don't know what gas fees are, but gas fees is basically what you pay in order to be able to even use the currency, right?
mhm, yeah,
So, because literally it uses energy to even make this cryptocurrency and to like have it move around, like it heats up a computer somewhere in the earth. Um,
yeah, yeah,
so
basically, yeah,
yeah, so there are, there's also those intricacies to it where it's like I don't even know what freaking coin to use, or what platforms are even trustworthy. Like it's a whole other world. Um, which of course you also know Francine, and I think you're also part of the same little platform that they use for their for selling
Yes.
their work, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So object.com, objkt.com, that is on the Tezos platform. Um, yeah. So I'll give the prospective NFT user some reasons to do it.
Mm,
And those are, like Francine is awesome. And I know about her because of this NFT world that I've been in. Um, the opportunities for collaboration in NFT art are are amazing. Like, in the since 2021, I've collaborated with more awesome artists than I mean, I'd never collaborated with an artist before, really. I don't think. I mean, uh, well, especially, not on an oil painting for sure, but like, really, yeah, not to this extent on anything really. And it's amazing. Like, in the world of digital art, you can connect with other artists around the world and work together. Like I've done a digital painting where we just shot the file back and forth and just worked on it. I've done ones where I would do a chunk and then they do a chunk over it, or vice versa. Um, and then getting to know these other artists, and in the process appreciating their style of art. Like my world of appreciation of art has expanded like exponentially since getting into NFTs, which has in turn influenced my physical oil painting practice. So I've grown as an artist because of NFTs, and I've connected with other like-minded people because of NFTs. And I've gotten to collect other and support other artists' work. So those are the reasons, I think, the most compelling reasons to start doing NFTs. If you can make money while doing it, that's great, and probably necessary to sustain it, but that should be the secondary consideration. If money's the only reason, you really won't last.
yeah.
People will just see right through it and they won't buy your stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like that's the same with painting. It's kind of obvious when someone's just, like, oh, this was able to sell once, so I'm just gonna paint that again and again and again. I mean, no shame in it. If it sells, it
Right.
sells.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like you're kind of it just seems like, when a company, decides to make a sequel to a really good movie just for the money grab.
Yeah. You're just a factory at that point. Yeah.
Yeah.
People can
Yeah.
smell it. So yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. But I do like that aspect that you mentioned about the NFT world, which is it's much more community based. It seems like you have more rapport with like your fellow artists and I like the collection aspect too. And the added plus that like, if you buy one of their pieces and maybe you decide to sell it, the person you bought it from will still benefit because they get royalties. So there's
Yes, exactly. It
literally
feels good. Yeah.
exactly. It's like, oh wow, you sold my piece. Oh, that's awesome. Like I
Yeah.
benefited from it too. Like
Yes.
versus like if you sell a piece to someone and they sell it, I mean it's kind of a dick move, you know?
I mean, I guess it depends. Yeah. I think, you know, there's a way to respectfully resell
Hmm.
work in either market, and
Yep.
there's a disrespectful way to do it
Yeah,
in in either market too.
that's
So,
true.
but even if I wasn't getting royalties, in my physical oil paintings, and a collector decided to resell, as long as they're increasing the price, cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm cool with it. I'm thankful to them for buying it in the first place, and I'm happy that they got to enjoy it for as long as they did. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah,
I
yeah,
guess it
but
just sucks if they drop it
yeah,
off at Goodwill.
oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh man. But but yeah, I really love that advice. And actually, do you have any other advice if someone's like just starting out, maybe they want to dip their toes in NFTs? Is there anything you would recommend?
Um, Only do it if you are cool with being on Twitter or X or whatever, and and connecting with people. yes, it's not as fun or satisfying as connecting with people face to face. Um, but those interactions on Twitter can lead to in-person interactions or phone calls or stuff like that. So, but that's where everything happens for NFTs is on Twitter, basically. And it's going to take a lot of your time and effort. Um, so only do it if you're really interested and excited, um, and be prepared to connect with people. And that's kind of, I mean, it's really kind of reminded me how important it is to connect with um, collectors in real life, which I'm with physical oil paintings, which I'm not that great at, honestly. I was listening to one of your other episodes recently where you kind of recapped a bunch of marketing tips, and
Mm-hmm.
I think it was Clint Watson was talking, and he was talking about like you when you have a new painting, you want to reach out to your small circle first, and then the medium circle, and then the large circle. And I was like, yes, like it's something you hear all the time, but I just for the longest time, I wanted to believe I just want to make my paintings, I just want to paint and then stuff will happen. Um, but that's, obviously not the case. You really do need to connect with people. And I've been pretty good. I'm supremely introverted. So like when people reach out to me, I'm pretty good at responding. But it's the reaching out part that I'm not good at, and I know I need to improve on that and everything. So that going forward, that's my goal is to figure that out. And I had kind of like I'd kept pretty good records um, of collectors and stuff like that, a database. But then around let's see, 2017, when I kind of my wife decided she wanted to go back to work, and so we've kind of flip flopped, and I turned it into more of the stay at home dad while doing my art also. But that's the first thing that fell off was my records, unfortunately. Like I, I still paint and stuff, but everything else just kind of went to shit, and so now my records are kind of a mess. So I'm trying to reorganize myself and be better at communicating with people, because that's very, very important for sustaining your art career.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And you know what? I think it's great that you make that point because I think a lot of people, especially people who are just starting out as artists, we all romanticize the whole like, oh, I'm just gonna paint all day. But of course, the administrative side of painting is quite important. And it
Yeah.
seems like, with NFTs at least, first of all, record keeping, way easier. That's
Oh yeah,
literally like you just I'm guessing you
it's
just
in
click
there.
on whatever it is and it says everything you need to know about it versus like a painting that's sitting in your studio. It's like, when did I finish that? you know? Um, but it seems like, at least with like talking to collectors and connecting with people, NFTs it's a great exercise for that because you have to rely so much on that. You have to rely so much on being present and like communicating with these people.
Mhm.
So I think it's like, it's like you're applying it over here and I just got to pull it to the other side, right? Um, because I mean, that's it's like one of those things where the more you practice it in one end, the easier it is to apply it on the other one because they're not, as you're mentioning, and you're making so many great points that I didn't really think about, they're so similar. Those two little worlds, very similar. Um, they have their own little ecosystems and their own ways of working that are almost exactly the same, which
Yeah.
surprising. I mean, I'm a little surprised. I'm not gonna lie. I'm a little surprised, but at the same time, I'm not because, of course, it's still painting. It's still art. Um, so I mean, it's also good to highlight that there are there are struggles that we still do. Especially with like day to day, like how do you time manage painting and also, keeping with your family and making sure that everyone has everything that they need. It's not easy. It's like a one-man show with like a little like you're holding the drum and the harmonica and like the cymbal at the same time and
Yes.
you're just trying to do everything.
Yes, definitely.
So I think it's normal to, fall off the wagon sometimes with, keeping track of paintings. That's perfectly fine. But
Yeah.
at least, you're aware, so you can just pick it back up and then get back on. And it's never too late, I don't think, to reach out to those collectors as well. So it works out.
Yeah,
Which by
totally.
the way,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh
I
yeah.
do have oh yeah, go for it.
I was just gonna say collectors are, there's a little delay here. Collectors
Oh, you're good.
are super similar. Yeah, like
Mm.
you're saying it's very similar, it's just that NFTs are faster paced, but collectors I found they're very similarly minded in the NFT world and the physical art world. And so being in NFTs has helped me understand the collector mindset, not only because I get to know these collectors in NFTs, but I get to be a collector too, because it's cheaper generally.
Yeah.
So, um, yes, very similar. And my dream is like right now, people who are into NFTs aren't necessarily into physical artworks, and physical artwork people aren't necessarily into NFTs, but there's starting to be some crossover.
Mm.
And that to me is the most exciting thing. And that's what I really want to happen is to bring those together. That like what recently I just did a painting, like physical painting plus one of one NFT package, and sold it from at Maker's Place, um, to one of my great collectors from my physical oil paintings. And so like there's starting to be a little bit of crossover in that. I think that's the end goal for all of us, because then,
Yeah.
like you said, maybe in the future, the whole secondary market thing could get fixed in the physical art world because of the NFTs. So it can bleed over, So now
Mm.
if we can get to a point where the physical piece is tied with the NFT, then when it goes to auction or whatever else like that, then it can be in that smart contract that we would get
Mm.
royalties. So that's just super exciting, to reach new collectors, new physical collectors in the NFT space.
Mm.
That would be, yeah, I think that's the future, but we'll see.
Fingers crossed, honestly.
Yeah.
I think it's only fair. I mean, how many hours do we, work through a painting and then it's also like I actually one time I saw this clip of this woman who was watching her painting that she made like maybe like 10, 20 years ago get auctioned off for a ridiculous price. And like she sold it maybe for like 5,000 and it just the price was just ridiculous after. And I felt so
Yeah.
bad for her. I was like, imagine watching your painting get sold and you get nothing. Like poof.
I
It's
mean,
painful.
hopefully though, yeah, that sounds, I'm trying to put myself in that position. How would I feel? Like, hopefully that high secondary sale would help her primary sale market so that she would now be able to raise her prices on new paintings.
Yeah.
So maybe that's just a win for her anyways. But say if, for instance, she was unable to make new paintings,
Mm.
for some physical reason or something, then yeah, that would be super sad.
I'm just so pro like getting those royalties.
Yeah, it is nice. It is a nice idea.
It's
Yeah.
great. Yeah. At BoldBrush, we inspire artists to inspire the world because creating art creates magic, and the world is currently in desperate need of magic. BoldBrush provides artists with free art marketing, creativity, and business ideas and information. This show is an example. We also offer written resources, articles, and a free monthly art contest open to all visual artists. We believe that fortune favors the bold brush. And if you believe that too, sign up completely free at boldbrushshow.com. That's BoldBrush show.com. The BoldBrush Show is sponsored by Faso. Now more than ever, it's crucial to have a website when you're an artist, especially if you want to be a professional in your career. Thankfully, with our special link, faso.com/podcast, you can make that come true and also get over 50% off your first year on your artist website. Yes, that's basically the price of 12 lattes in 1 year, which I think is a really great deal, considering that you get sleek and beautiful website templates that are also mobile friendly, e-commerce, print on demand in certain countries, as well as access to our marketing center that has our brand new art marketing calendar. And the art marketing calendar is something that you won't get with our competitor. The art marketing calendar gives you day-by-day, step-by-step guides on what you should be doing today, right now, in order to get your artwork out there and seen by the right eyes so that you can make more sales this year. So if you want to change your life and actually meet your sales goal this year, then start now by going to our special link, faso.com/podcast. That's faso.com/podcast. But continuing with the NFTs, I'm also really curious because so this Twitter, now X, has like the Twitter sphere, I mean, because of the change of management, has that affected NFTs at all? The way it's like happening now? Or
Maybe. I'm not sure. It's really hard to tell. I don't think that it's affected it too much. I think more that it's just coincidental that changes in Twitter are happening at the same time as changes in the NFT market. I could be wrong, but yeah, for the most part, Twitter seems similar to me. But I'm still, I guess I'm only since 2021. I'm pretty new to being a regular user of Twitter. So yeah, but all social media is always like this, right? It just you just ride the waves. Who knows? We're just who knows what's gonna
yeah.
happen.
Yeah, I was just curious because I mean like there's been so many changes to like the whole like blue check mark and like all of these other administrative things. Apparently you can't block people anymore on Twitter.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's it's very recent. I think I read about it
Okay.
like 2 days ago. Um, but
Thanks.
it's I was just curious, like, is this affecting like, the way that because so much of like the NFT world relies so much on the fast-paced communication that happens in Twitter. Um, which also like in terms of like collectors, right? Do you somehow connect with them in Twitter, kind of like how you would on Instagram,
Mhm.
right? Where like they message you, you talk, you hang out, like, through Messenger, I guess, and then stuff happens? Is it just like that?
Yeah. Yeah. Uh, DMs, and also there's what's nice about Twitter is that there's like Twitter groups in the chat, so like you can have DMs with a whole group of people, and that's how a lot of stuff happens with NFTs. So I'm in, several different big groups, and I've been with one particular group for a long time, and it's just like artists and collectors together, and it's a nice community, much more community minded than Instagram.
Mhm.
I mean, I don't know, there's no community on Instagram.
Yeah, no, I
But
mean,
yeah, there's also Discord, which you know about. But I don't really like using Discord that much. But if someone is already on Discord, then that's also a great place for NFT stuff. So yeah,
cool. Yeah, I mean, it's good to know that it's literally the same. Just on a different platform. And with a different speed too. Because I mean, I tried posting on Twitter. I feel like it's just so I get overwhelmed. It's a lot. I remember when I started following like NFT people like 2 years ago or
mhm.
so. I would just see that message like shill your NFTs or something like that.
Ugh. Yeah. Oh man.
Like, oh my God, what is that? What is going on?
Yeah.
Is I have to learn new words?
Yeah.
But it's interesting.
Yeah.
It's fascinating.
Yeah, they have their own little language going on. It's a bit of a learning curve, but it can be fun. It can be annoying and fun. So yeah, I think it's toned down since a couple of years ago, which is nice.
Mhm.
But also it's difficult because there's less engagement for some reason with the algorithms or whatever.
Mm.
So people are struggling because of that.
Oh,
But yeah, yep.
fascinating. Oh. It's fascinating how now the life of the artist is completely controlled by an algorithm.
To an ex right, well, our exposure at least.
Yeah. Yeah, on all platforms really.
Yeah.
But yeah, aside from the NFTs, right? So you were saying, you still obviously paint, you have your physical paintings. When you made that jump, right, from, student, right? Like you were just
Hmm.
like maybe you just like graduated from art school, right? What was that transition like for you to go from basically student working as an architect to full-time artist? Was that a slow transition or was it like a immediate jump?
It was, oops, my headphones. It was pretty seamless actually, because during school, we had started, with the student shows, selling paintings during the student shows, and then one of my teachers, Carol Lee Thompson, she's an excellent painter and teacher, and she connected me with a couple galleries in DC and Maryland, and so I got started, selling in galleries. So, I mean, I was just so focused on finding a new career that, like, I kind of felt like if I didn't make it at oil painting, um, that was my last chance at being happy. It was very, very dramatic, because I was so frustrated with architecture. So I was going to make it work, and so it was it was exciting. I was so happy when I switched completely to painting. And at the time, our expenses were pretty low
Mhm.
because we were young and renting small, tiny places, and so didn't have kids yet. And so it was actually a pretty smooth transition. But when you sent me the questions earlier, I was thinking about this for a while, like like what were the challenges, and I think the biggest challenge was what it is now, is the work itself. The painting itself has always been the biggest challenge, and it hasn't gotten any easier. Maybe different, but like painting is really hard, like um that's why I love it, I guess. Because there's always the need to get better, and the need to for my artwork to evolve. Because if it doesn't evolve, I start to lose interest. Um, really, like the growing part is the most exciting part for me. So yeah, I think it has always, the biggest challenge has always been making the paintings, and it still is the biggest challenge.
Mhm.
Um, Everything else is just the technical stuff.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And you know
yeah.
what? The way that you described, like the challenge being the actual painting, it kind of reminds me of architecture in a way where it's so nice when you have like your drawing and things just aren't fitting, but then somehow you make it fit or like everything just like falls into place. Just like the whole problem solving aspect. I feel like that's like the really nice and fulfilling thing about creating something, right? Whether it's like an architecture drawing or a painting. And I think that's maybe where like personally for me, that's where my crossover is. Where like what I loved about architecture was problem solving, making everything work. And it's the same with painting. It's like, oh, this isn't working. What's going on here? Oh, I gotta fix this. Um, I don't know if you
Yeah,
feel the
you're
same
spot
way.
on. No, you're spot on, because making a painting is just a series of problems you're figuring out. Each brushstroke is a new problem, then the whole big problem of the painting. Yeah, just making mistakes and figuring out how to fix them, basically. Yeah, I think you hit it right. Yeah, you hit it right on the head. It's about problem solving. That's really a satisfying and fulfilling way to live. So, yeah,
The perpetual problem solvers. But what's funny is we create our own problems and then we solve them, which is kind of ironic.
yeah, kind of sadistic, right?
A little, a little. But it's better than solving someone else's problems. So
Totally. Yeah.
yeah. Oh
That's
man.
that's true. Yeah. Maybe that's, I
Mhm.
mean, being my own boss, maybe that's the biggest part, I don't I'm only solving my own problems. Um,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah. And it's like, you take full responsibility for your whole life, instead of I'm also like really anti having a boss, basically. Like as if I can control as much of my life as possible, I will. And it's also because of that. It's like I don't want my life to be in someone else's hand, where like if I lose my job, I'm screwed. Um, I think that's really scary.
Yeah.
Um, and that's the other thing about painting. It's like you really have to have so much gumption and so much passion for it that yeah, the money's important, but you if you like we said earlier, like you said, if you let the money overtake the passion that you have for, this thing that you love to do, then you're losing. Um, the money's like the really nice secondary thing. But if you have as much control over like I'm creating something because I feel like it, because I love it, but then I also got paid for it, that's really nice. Compared to having to work for someone else and always being at risk of losing your job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, the argument for having a job is that, there's stability, there's a
Yeah.
safety net, but that's such an illusion, right? Because, I mean, like, sure, if something happened to my eyes or my
Mm.
hands, it would be hard to paint, but it would also be hard to have any other job too.
Hmm.
And you can get fired. Like I remember in 2008 with the big crash, tons of people lost their jobs. And that's right when I was, starting to enter painting. And it was like, no one is safe from losing their job. So you might as well figure out what you really want to do, you know?
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, because I know I trust myself more than I trust a different employer. So
Hmm. Yeah.
there you go. It's as secure
Yeah,
as any
that's true.
job, I guess. So yeah.
Very true. Yeah. Yeah. I was gonna say something about that. But yeah, no one's safe. I mean, the note you said about the hands or the eyes, I highly recommend getting hand insurance,
Can
eye
you do that?
insurance. I think you can. I think there was this one actress who like apparently had really nice legs, so she insured her legs. Apparently you could do that. Um,
Okay.
maybe it's an option for us artists, like hand insurance. You never know. There's crazy stuff out there. But anyway, in terms of selling though, for you, what have you found to be the most lucrative approach? Has it been like selling on your own, social media, galleries?
Um, Definitely a combination. Like historically, if I can't go back through all my paintings, like half were sold through a gallery and half were sold direct
Hmm.
from my website or whatever. So I think it's pretty I mean, I think it's pretty necessary usually for most artists to cobble together an income from everything, from all sorts of stuff. That's how it's been for me. Just like, some workshops, painting sales direct, painting sales from gallery, prints, um, not videos, instructional videos, now NFTs, like just you cobble everything together because each thing taken individually is so inconsistent.
Mm-hmm.
It's so sporadic. You don't know when a painting's going to sell. You might not be doing workshops every single month. Um, you might, especially like COVID happened and everything was canceled. So I haven't done workshops for a couple of years, partially because of when COVID started, but also I just realized I wanted to be close to my kids as much as possible, and I didn't want to leave for 7 days or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But now I'm getting the urge to start again. But everything taken together on average will give you the income. So that's been the way I've been able to do it. Sure, it'd be nice to just maybe it'd be nice to just do painting and have them sell and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm satisfied with how it's working because I enjoy teaching and now I miss teaching, and I enjoy the other things I've been learning like NFTs and then with prints is cool because different audience can purchase a print. that can't afford oil painting. So yeah, it's all good. But you're probably going to have to, for most artists, they're probably going to have to hustle and cobble together from multiple
Mhm.
sources.
Yeah, yeah, definitely diversifying income. Which even for people who have regular day jobs, it's recommended precisely because of what we were saying
Sure.
before. We're
Yeah.
like, you never know. I mean, the economy crashes, everyone loses their job, and then what? Like it's better to have something else coming in. So yeah, that's awesome. And especially, also like that, you have all of these things, and of course, you like you said, you can't just rely on one. Um, but you actually enjoy all of those things too, right? It's not just like, oh, I do it because I have to. It's like, no, I do it because I genuinely love doing all of these little things that come together
Yes.
and allow me to live from my work, which is awesome. Um, and now I have a very strange question. I've been asking it to some of my guests. I'm sure that you already know what it is. But do you have, aside from painting, are you secretly like an expert in something, or do you have like a hobby that you like really, really love that's like totally different from painting?
Yeah. It's not secret, but since let's see, 2018, I've been doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu,
Oh,
um,
cool.
which has been amazing. That's like my, if I was to name one, side thing, side hobby, that's it. Um, and the parallels with my art practice are so like it's the same. Like, you know, like how to put this? Like I think when I first started jujitsu, it benefited me already being an artist because I'm used to doing a practice where it's always hard. There is no end, um, and you just keep showing up um, and trying your best.
Yep.
Um, it's like there's no there's no skill level or success level that is going to make you an artist. What makes you an artist is just the doing it day after day after day. That becomes part of you. And so when I started jujitsu, I was able to take that mindset and just like accept how horrible I was at it, and just keep on going. And it was so much fun because like now I have something that's new that I'm learning, just like I'm always learning in painting. But this one, I don't have to worry about an income. I don't
Yeah.
need to make money with it. It's just pleasure. It's fun. It's play. So I love it so much. And then that in turn has fed back into my artwork, I think. It has reminded me, like, oh yeah, this never ends. Like, so I better find a way to enjoy it all the time. So that has helped me chill out a bit when my paintings are going really bad. I know this is just a temporary thing. I just keep on doing it. I'll figure it out eventually. Like every other day at jujitsu, I feel like I suck. I'm like, I'm so bad at this. Like, and you feel like everything's gonna last forever. Like you're gonna be bad
Mhm.
at it forever. And then every other day at painting, I'm like, I'm so bad at painting. And there's so much to learn. I need to figure this out. Or like this painting isn't going well. I can't get it to work. But then the next day, everything's great. So they're parallel to me and they help each other. Um, and I become more playful in my paintings too, I think, as a result. So yeah, that's my thing.
Yeah, I was actually gonna ask, and you answered. Like, do you find that you inject that play into your work? Which I think that is so important because it's like the whole reason we even do it in the first place is for fun, right? It's because it's something that brings us joy. So I'm very happy to hear that this whole other different, literally physical thing allows you to, you know, pull yourself back into kind of like a Zen state of mind of this too shall pass. We're good. It's shit now, but we'll be
Yes.
fine.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. There's
Yeah.
nothing more pleasurable than, yeah, than learning and playing. You know, what's better than those things? Um,
Yeah.
so, um, yeah. So it has really changed. I think how I look at look at painting. Also, it's just a great the jujitsu is a great physical outlet. Like because if I don't like empty myself physically, I'm not gonna be a good person the rest of the day or the rest of the week or whatever. You know, I need to have that thing that's exhausting.
Hmm.
Because when you're painting, you're just sitting there and you'll start to feel crazy. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I totally get that. I totally get that. I do bodybuilding and that's my way of like getting rid of
Oh,
like all that
nice.
excess energy.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, I mean if not, I'm just gonna like lay awake in my bed like this all night. Because I just have so much excess energy. So I have to get it all out. Thankfully it helps a lot. It also helps to take magnesium, take your supplements. That helps. But yeah, being in a sedentary career like we're in, it's so important to move your
So
body. I
important.
mean,
Yeah.
oh, or else you're
So
just gonna,
important.
oh, you're just gonna be a mummy, like stuck in your bed like
Yeah.
this. Like, oh my God. I totally
Yeah.
get that.
Do you have a little like my studio is basically also my gym. I have like weights set up so like I
Oh,
can just transition from painting to lifting. Do you have
oh
your own
man.
do you have a home gym or anything
I
for when
don't,
you're painting? You can
unfortunately. Yeah, I don't. I wish actually that's like my dream is to get a bigger studio so that I can actually have like, half gym, half studio. That would be so great because then if I'm feeling like antsy, like oh, I can't figure out this painting, but I need to do
yes.
something. I need to do something. I'll just pick something up or like go do some squats on the squat rack or something, like get the energy
Yes.
out.
That's so good.
Genius.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it gets the blood flowing. There's times when I've like, been stuck and I'll just go over there and do something, do some lift and the blood's flowing and everything and I'll look back
Yes.
at the painting and be like, boom, I know what to do. That's
Exactly.
it's so good. Yeah. So
Yes.
important.
It's very important. I think it's very underrated. How moving can help you problem solve too. It's like, ah, and also sleep. Sleep is so
Yeah,
important.
pretty important.
Yeah, absolutely. And then in terms of the play too, like it's like, actually I recently read a statistic that when you're learning something, if you're just forcing yourself to learn it, it takes like 300 repetitions or something like that. But if you learn via play, it's only 10 repetitions because it's like I guess it does something in your brain where it's easier for you to take it in and keep it because it's not something like boring or like the perception of it changes from something boring to something like, oh, this is fun. Like, wow, you know?
That makes sense. Yeah, because you're more
Mhm.
mindful when you're enjoying it.
Yes.
That's really cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
that makes sense.
And that's how kids learn too. So, I mean, we're fundamentally trying to become children again.
Totally. Totally.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, do you have any upcoming workshops actually?
Funny you should ask. Yes, I do. Yes, I'm pretty excited to get back to um, teaching again.
Hmm.
So the first one coming up is in November. So November 3 through 5 at Townsend Atelier in Chattanooga, Tennessee. So there's some spots left there. And then one after that is going to be next year in Italy. So
Ooh.
um, April 28th through May 4th through Art Escape Italy. You can find them on Instagram or website. And that's a longer workshop. It's like a week long, and it's like all
Mhm.
inclusive with like meals and stuff. Um,
Nice.
so those, yeah, those are both still life composition and painting workshops. So
Awesome.
yeah,
Great. Yeah. And where else can people see more of your work?
um, Instagram and my website. Uh, my website is always up to date with new paintings, and Instagram is I sometimes post. So yeah, just I'll be there.
Yeah, I guess maybe they need to follow you on Twitter.
Yeah. Yep, I'm on Twitter as well, and that's mostly, NFT centric.
Hmm.
Uh, yep, so I'm there as well. Everything is just at David Cheifetz. So, yeah.
Perfect. All right. Well, thank you so much, David.
Thank you. Thank you, Laura. This was an awesome conversation, and
Yeah.
your podcast is amazing. It's like greatly, whenever I find a new art podcast, I'm so thankful because it to hear from other artists, give advice. I need that, constant little drops of wisdom that really helps. So thank you
Oh,
for what you're doing.
thank you so much. Oh my God. I'm in my feels.
Of
I appreciate that so much.
course. Yeah. Thank you.